Hello, hello.
Uh,
Oh, look how fancy you look, Terry.
Well, that's awesome. So,
my
welcome back
stringy beard and all.
to the 1 o'clock sesh of HopeFest 23 as we move on to some of the more interesting parts that I find of this. I met Terry long ago, and I was like a kid in a candy store. I was so blown away by just the science and everything like that that was going on over there at Dauntless. And these people at Dauntless are the ones that they're going to take it from being in on the plant to being into your everything, however it's going to be used. And so they've been a real super help in the whole FECO playbook play thing. We were talking about it takes a village, and we met Jeremy Deadman and how it's taken off, and the geometric progression of love that has shattered through the realm of our wonderful cannabis space here in Oklahoma, has landed us with Terry Willingham, who is chief cook and bottle washer. I mean, he does it all over there at Dauntless. And so I'm going to give the floor to Terry and let him go with that.
Hey,
So,
good afternoon. Um,
Terry, I have previously in this have discussed how you guys don't get enough credit for what you guys do. I always try, but you guys truly don't get enough credit for what all you guys do. The all the current syringes that have gone out from the program have came from your facility as a starting spot. So I can't thank you enough personally for what those products have done for the warriors that we have been working with. Uh, I'm going to get teary-eyed on that. So thank you, because what you're doing, I know you're in there working like crazy. You don't get to get out very often, and I just want you to know that you're seen, even though you're back there. Like your products speak volumes.
Thank
Uh,
you, Jamie and Mary. Um, I'm actually the true definition of an introvert, and I pretty much stay in my cave all the time. And to get me to talk about this is an honor and a privilege, but it's very difficult for me because of what I just said.
yeah.
So I kind of stay in the closet all the time, and I create all these things. Um, I don't know if you can see the bio, but I was a chef and an executive chef in Port Cuisine, and owned some restaurants and managed several, and ended up in a candy factory that I owned in Washington State. And someone approached me about investing in edibles and helping create them. And I was very interested in that and have always had a passion about cannabinoids. And I went in there and looked at that, and we started buying equipment and processing oil. And so at that time it was distillate, and that's what everybody was after. And so, and there was a lot of money in it, which I never got any of, but you know how that goes.
Yep, that's
And
a
also
good.
the equipment, with some of it is behind it, is very expensive. And
Yes.
um,
You have some of the best, like in all honesty, you have one of the best facilities I have ever seen.
it's a beautiful, beautiful lab. And
Yes,
Nancy, the president of Dauntless Health, and
I adore
I
her.
kind of put this whole thing together by herself. I actually, so like I was saying, I was up there making distillate in Washington. And so I knew how to to put the equipment together and take it all apart and fix it and repair it and make it run efficient. And so I actually came here as a consultant to Oklahoma to help them run this machine properly. And when I got here, they had produced 2 liters in probably 3 months of RSO. And at that time, we were shooting for CBD. And I got this thing online, and in 2 weeks, we had 90. So efficiency, and I got out of the air and streamlined this. And one day, Nancy was talking to some clients and some investors, and they were trying to figure out how to reverse engineer the THC out of the CBD. And they were all on their calculators, and I just walked in there and I heard what they were saying, and I go, oh, that's 1.063, what you multiply by. And they were just like, oh my God. And so that, from that point on, Nancy kind of realized that I have some kind of math savant, and so that I see how to formulate in whatever it is in my brain so that I know how to proceed. And after that, we started figuring out how to isolate these molecules. And so we developed isolates of every single one of there's 140 different molecules in the cannabis plant. And they're unique to cannabis. So that's why you can't just create these things from nowhere. And that's why cannabis is necessary. And, you know, the thing is we know that at least 5,000 years, cannabis has been used for certain things. And when you look at the history, you'll see that it's funny that the things that we're using it for now, exactly what they used it for back then. And I'll run through some of them. CBD, as you guys know, pain, inflammation reduction, anxiety reduction, sleep benefits, seizure reduction. And so they use this for seizures way back when. And it's non-toxic, no abuse indications, and then skin conditions and nausea, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. CBG is a muscle relaxer. It has digestive benefits. It's antibacterial, neuropathic pain, inflammatory pain, reacts with the body with the GABA CB1, CB2 receptors, and it also helps with depression and, of course, glaucoma. CBN is only retained from CBD through molecular isomerization, so it's a conversion. But we know that it helps with neuroprotection. It's also anti-generation, analgesia benefits, acne, and antidepressant. Those are just 4 out of 150. And so what happened in here, through what I was talking about earlier, we began isolating these components. And I'm going to go on now and talk about RSO and FECO. And I think what I should do is bring up that we've been able to make all kinds of medications, topicals, pain sticks, as well as ingestion of all of these isolates. And in this, they figured out that, I don't know why my phone's ringing. Certain cannabinoids do things that others don't.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate part here is that when you go researching this stuff, you find out at the end that we just don't have enough information.
Yep.
And that's what's made this hard for everybody. And that was unfortunately, there was a lot of research done on THC when they came out with chemotherapy, and because they knew that it did something. It does something. They don't know what it does, but all of a sudden, you know, they realize that, oh, this works for nausea. So if you use it with chemotherapy, it works better than anything else for nausea. And so they used it in that way, and they did some research, and they found out that it's doing something to the cancer cells too. And then it became illegal. And this is back in the 40s. And so that research stopped. And the truth about all this is that the FDA will not research something that is class 1, period. So it stopped and it's gone. And so nothing can be done about that. And that is the most frustrating thing from this position, to want to help and there not be any good research other than hearsay. Now, that being said, there is some research recently about some of these minor cannabinoids, and CBG and CBD and CBN and THC from Australia and Israel and some of those countries, where they have found that in animals and in the lab, the THC and other cannabinoid chemicals can stop the growth of tumors. Studies have looked at cells related to lung, skin, breast, prostate, and other cancers. They found that in some cases, it can stop cells, the cancer cells, from spreading. And the other cannabinoid compound shows they may kill off cancer cells while sparing healthy cells. When someone talks later about the endocannabinoid system, I believe there's someone after me that's going to talk about that. They'll talk about the CB1 and CB2 receptors. And the CB1 receptors have to do with our brain and what messages it sends throughout our body. And so for pain and where to send this medicine, anything related to psychoactivity, that's a CB receptor. The CB receptor is in your stomach. And so if you have knee pain, it's actually going to come from your brain that tells it where to send the medicine. And that's actually what happens, is these receptors are located all the way throughout our body. And that's your endocannabinoid system, which we evolved with.
Yeah.
And after I look at that, read about it and all that, why did we evolve with an endocannabinoid system? And I hope to hear some more about that later. But that's the truth of it, is that it'll send this to a cell, the medication, it'll send it to a cell, and that gives your body the ability to recognize that as an unhealthy cell, which is the trick cancer plays on us.
Yeah.
And then it can saturate that cell. What they know, what they're finding out is that stuff like CBG, it can actually shrink a cell and kill it.
Yeah, there's
So,
a lot of good research out there. Like there's a lot that's going we've got like 10 minutes left on this, and I I would really like to hear the difference. Last time I sat down with you, we had a conversation on FECO versus Nano and the body's absorption of bioavailability of that. In your experience, your expertise, what does that breakdown look like for somebody who doesn't know? Would Nano be a another good alternative or addition to FECO if they did it together? Or what are your thoughts and opinions on that?
Just said, I want to talk to you straight about bioavailability. And a good way to encapsulate that is I'm going to talk about the FECO and the RSO and what the dosage is. And so when you get cancer or something that you suspect is going to end your life, you want to grab everything that's available to you and try to fix it, of course. And so what this regime, this is RSO. And the difference in RSO and FECO is, I mean, basically, is the temperature that it's processed at. And so that it retains more as FECO than RSO. But the whole thing about RSO is that it's not like distillate. It's very high in TC. It carries all the cannabinoids, and the dosing is the issue here. So if you're a cancer patient, they're going to start you with a dose the size of a grain of rice. And they want you to take that 3 or 4 times a day. And they want you to double that every 4 days. And so until you get all the way up in 5 weeks to a gram a day. And a gram a day is a lot. And that's kind of where I have focused right there, is that the gram a day, that's pretty rough for somebody. First of all, this stuff is awful. It's very potent, very powerful, and
It's dangerous.
It's very psychoactive. And so just to eat something like that and get it inside your body is kind of rough. And so there's a lot of ways you can go about it. And that's really one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is practicality of that. That you put in butter, you put it in a dip, you can put it in your food and try to get it in. Specifically, I'm going to talk now. So you get it in the syringe. And this syringe, it has a gram in it. And so you try to figure out how to dose it. And you'll find out that, the ways of ingesting this is through your lungs and then ingesting it, eating it. So you can smoke it or you can try to get it in your body. Well, the whole thing is we want to get this to saturate a cancer cell. And that's very obvious. Rick Simpson, when he developed RSO, he was a scientist and he got basil. And so what he did is he figured out how to do this on his own, and he saturated his cell with it, the cancer, and it went away in 4 days. And so that's what started this path. But my thoughts on this were, how do we get this in us in a better way? Because bioavailability means this. It means it's absorbed. How much of it is absorbed? Our body is really great at filtering things out and identifying what we're taking in and the different organs that we have. They do that. They tag the food we eat. And so this is going to be absorbed in the pancreas. This is going to be absorbed in the liver. And so what is going on traditionally is that we're putting something that is very thick and viscous in our body. And we're leaving it up to our body how much of it we're going to get. And the truth is, we want it to absorb in our stomach. And so to absorb in our stomach, we need it to be a certain size, because your stomach, all your organs are like a web. And the way this is introduced, it's identified pretty much like a fat. And so your body labels things, and it's going to, okay, this is going to be sugar, it's going to absorb over here. And you've probably heard things about an edible converting in your liver into a completely different molecule. And what really happens there is you only get about 10% of what you're taking in. And your body tags the rest of it and shoots it out through your colon. And that's really what goes on. So that's why when you eat distillate or RSO edibles or anything like that, you'll hear people say, well, I ate another one an hour later because I didn't know what it was going to do to me. And then I ended up sleeping for 2 days or whatever. And that's because of that. We only absorb a very small percentage of it. And the truth is, if our body wasn't that efficient at tagging things, then we would eat a cheeseburger. It would suck all the fat into our arteries and we would die.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm talking about right there, is that if we introduce this to the way or continue and our body really took it in, we'd be done. So when you look at it that way, it's like, oh, there's got to be a better way to get it to take it in. So specifically what I've done here is shattered these molecules with sound waves. So you knock them apart, and then when you get them apart, encapsulate them so that they don't go back together. And an example is if you go to the store and you get oil and vinegar dressing. On the top of the dressing is the oil, and it flows. And you have to shake it. And right after that, it starts going back to the top again. And so there's 3 classifications of molecules. There's macromolecules, micromolecules, and nanomolecules. And so a nanomolecule is what I'm going to talk about. It's the same size as a water molecule. So I shatter them with sound waves, encapsulate them so that they stay apart, so that they don't go back together. So when they go in your stomach, there's not a lump of something didn't pass through. It's already the same size as the other particles that your stomach absorbs. That's where we want this to be absorbed by our body. Because, like I said, that web. And so it'll absorb water very rapidly. And now what happens with this is you get 90%. So it hits you in 15 minutes. You know what it's going to do to you. It's not going to last 20 hours. It's going to last 6. And so if it hits in those 10 minutes, it's almost the same as smoking it, that you know what it's going to do to you and how much more you can handle or not. Because in this situation with cancer, you want to get all you can in. And like I was saying, if there's a chance that you only have to take 10% of a gram, then that would be much easier on anybody. So if you get 9 times more using Nano, then it would be way easier and it's way better. And the cool thing about it is you can put it in a drink, you can put it in your coffee. I can make gummies out of it. And that's true with any of these, but I can make Nano out of any of these cannabinoids. And so what this is Nano. And it stays just like this. And I'm going to show you a demonstration here. So I don't know, can you turn that down a little? Yeah. So this is a beaker of water, and this is what happens in your stomach. So I have formulated this to where it's 100 milligrams a gram. And so a gram of RSO at its would be around 1,000 milligrams a gram. And 90% of it's passing through your body. So this is the way for your body to get all of it and saturate the cells like I was talking about. So I'm going to put 100 milligrams in it. And so if you started with this and you doubled this every 4 days, it would only take you about 10 days to get up to it. Anyway, so this is what happens in your stomach. And this is why, you know, the guru around here.
Yeah, you see the
Okay,
starch.
so
Yeah.
you can see it's completely suspended. It's not going back to the top. It's not forming bubbles or oil lumps. It stays that way. It is the same size as the water. So now your stomach can absorb it right then. And that's why you know in 15 minutes what's going to happen to you. And now we can send, your body will send it to those receptors as water. And it saturates the cell, which is what we want. I tried to hurry.
You're fine. You're fine. I can't thank you enough for joining us, and there is so much to learn from you. It's unbelievable. I would love to have you back for the next time we do this, and we'll talk before then, of course.
We're
Thank
glad
you.
to help. It's an honor.
Thank you for everything you're doing. Like I said, Dauntless in the background has done a whole lot for both the Operation Zero program and in my commercial line. So I can't thank you guys enough. Actually, Justin and I both appreciate you guys greatly on that side of things.
And for humanity, that's the other part is there. It's a huge selfless act that they're doing over there and researching and finding that stuff up so that we can hold on to our loved ones a little bit longer. And that's super awesome. Thank you so much for doing what you do over there at Dauntless, Terry, and especially Nancy.
Nancy, yeah, we love you too, Nancy.
Yep. We'll definitely be in touch. Work. That's fantastic, man. I was just, and that's encapsulated RSO in there in the what you just dropped.
Yeah, we can make it out of CBN, CBD, CBG, FECO, RSO. And so that's what we're doing in the lab to move things forward. And just like I was saying about the equipment is, you know, it has moved so fast in the last 7 or 8 years that by the time you get your equipment, it's already obsolete. And that's what's going on with this too. And the research has all been on the compounds. Like I was saying about the research before, it's all been done on like distillate and you know, extract. It has not been done on this at all. And so we're running on the front edge here. And it's just a fact that if you can get 8 times more of it, 6 times faster, then that's what they're going to be after. So there is going to be research on it. They will look at this because this is the true way to get as much as you can in your system.
Well, we will definitely be hearing more about this in the future. I already said I was coming in to learn, so I got some learning to do. Thank you guys very much
wanna say
for your time.
If okay, let's say I'm a cancer patient in Oklahoma. How do I find these things? And so everybody just please contact Jamie, Larry, whoever you can, so that you can get to us. Because the truth is, this is kind of hard to find out there in the market, but it's there. And we make gummies out of it, all kinds of edibles, topicals. I use Nano of it. So the effect is eightfold, you know, like I said. All right, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so
It's on
much. Yes.
There you go.
You got a QR code
right
there.
There you go.
Grab it while we're right
Reach
there.
out and get this because we want to get it in your hands. I know it's hard to find.
We'll go hand it
Reach
out
out
to
to
the
these guys.
oncology departments in the whole state and put that QR code on them.
Yes.
Some help.
We appreciate you guys greatly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see.
Thanks.